I'm gonna give you guys the top 5 best meta Warzone 2 loadouts to use right now, and we're gonna get right into it. So huge shout out to the Noti gang before we get into everything, and we're gonna start out with the Kastov 762. So this thing is literally the best assault rifle in Warzone 2 right now, and I want to give you the best build possible. So we're gonna start out with the barrel, and that is gonna be the Cast 10 584mm barrel for damage range, bullet velocity, hipfire accuracy, and recoil control. Now for this, we're gonna just tune it a little bit. It doesn't actually change that much, but we are going to decide to use it just a little bit. As you guys see, I have it around the 12-inch range. If you increase it some more, it doesn't really have that much benefit. If you want to, you're going to lose a whole lot more handling for a little bit more benefit, so keep it between 12 if you don't want to lose much handling. But if you want a little bit more range, increase it by 0.29 inches. The next thing is the recoil steadiness. Now this doesn't actually change that much either, but if you want to get a boost, then put it to around 40. The next thing we're going to move on to is actually the underbarrel. Now this thing is actually pretty special to me just because a lot of people have different choices, but for me, I choose a lock grip precision 40. Now you're probably thinking, well, how are you going to tune this? The answer is you're actually not. You're not going to tune this at all. You're going to leave this alone unless you want some more aim down sight speed, but in my opinion, it's not really necessary. It's a trade-off that you have to be willing to take, but I just don't think that you need to tune it. If you want to, set the aim down sight speed to negative 11 inches and you'll be good to go. Next thing is the muzzle. Now this muzzle, I am choosing the Sakin Tread 40. If you want to stay off the map, then you can choose one of the silencers like the Polar Fire S. That would be the optimal choice. But for this build right here, we're having a zero recoil Kastov 762. Recoil control by itself is good, but you need to have the recoil stabilization as well. So set the recoil control to plus 0.20 inches and the recoil stabilization to around the 40 range or a little bit under that. I put on the 40 round mag. For the optic, it's completely your choice, but I put on the personal preference of the MW2. And now to test this thing out, as you guys see, short range, it does amazing. Medium range is very, very good. And long range just gets the job done. So please try this one out. Next, we're moving on to the Lockman sub, and I know you guys are gonna look forward to this build because it's so easy and so powerful to use. So starting out, we're putting on the X10R40 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness. And for the tuning here, we're gonna increase the bullet velocity just by a little bit. I mean, in my opinion, you can keep it to around the 0.30 range, and if you get there, perfectly fantastic. If not, don't stress about it. Just try to get it to around there. And the recoil smoothness, we're gonna increase it Wow, we're going to increase the recoil smoothness slightly. Next, for the underbarrel, we're actually going to put on the MERC FOREGRIP, and we're going to change the aim down sight speed to increase it just a little bit to around negative 0.23 inches. And we do not want to change anything else. If you want to increase the hip walking speed, I mean, be my guest, but I don't really think that's necessary. If you want to, feel free to set it to around negative 0.45 ounces. Next, we're going for ammunition, and we're putting on the 9mm HOLLOWPOINT for crippling power. Trust me, you want to have this because this basically has a concussion effect whenever you hit their legs. For the tuning, increase the bullet velocity to around the 4 range. Beyond that, it's not really too much beneficial. If you want to put it on there, you're sacrificing a little bit of recoil, and you can put it to around the mid 7 ranges. Completely up to you though. But the next thing you want to do is increase the damage range and set it to around 0.28. That's ideal. Put on the 40 round mag just because I don't think anyone needs 50. That's too many bullets, and 15 is just not enough bullets, so 40 is a sweet spot. And last but not least, we're putting on the VLK Laser 7 MW. Tune it to increase the aim down sight speed to around the negative teen, like high teen ranges, so 18, 19 feet, you're pretty good. And then sprint to fire speed, you want to put it to around negative 0.25. Around the 20s is very good. And to test this thing out, this short to medium range is absolutely broken. Like as you guys see, it does the job short to medium range perfectly. In my opinion, you should probably try to avoid the long range gunfights just because it's not really likely you're gonna win it, and you're gonna have to most likely burst fire, as you guys see. So try to avoid those long range gunfights. Next, we're moving on to the Cronin Squall. This thing is absolutely beautiful and honestly one of my favorite weapons still to this day. We're gonna start out with the Sakin, so we're gonna find it right here. Sakin Tread 40, increase the recoil control and increase the recoil stabilization. These two go together. Negative 21 inches and 0.48 ounces. This helps with horizontal and vertical recoil control. For the barrel, put on the HR 6.8 barrel for damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control, and hipfire accuracy. For the tuning, increase the damage range, and it doesn't seem like it does much, but in my opinion, it does a fantastic job. Also increase the recoil steadiness. It's not too optimal here, but in my opinion, you still should have as much recoil control as possible. For the magazine, put on a 50 round drum. You guys already know for the optic is my personal preference. Once again, put on the MW2. Set the tuning to max out the far distance. And the last attachment is completely controversial. It's up to you whether you want to use an underbarrel or want to put on HOLLOWPOINT. Either way is completely fine, but if you are going to use an underbarrel, I would suggest something around the lines of FTAC Ripper Or if you don't want to use the FTAC Ripper, you can either use a Lock Grip Precision or the VX Pineapple. Now for me, most likely would go the Lock Grip Precision, and if you want to increase the aim down sight speed just a little bit. And here's the end product. This thing is absolutely broken, has zero recoil at all, and this is something that you absolutely want for this weapon right here. As you guys see, it's a freak of nature when it comes to assault rifles, so please try this out. You'll absolutely love it. For the next weapon, we're going with the ISO 45, and this thing is absolutely beautiful and in my opinion very easy to use. So I know a lot of people have different builds, but I actually want to show you guys a special one for me. 9-inch PTX trainer for damage range, hipfire accuracy, movement speed, and bullet velocity at the cost of some recoil control. Trust me, you want to have this on. Next, you're going to increase the damage range just a little bit to around the .15 range, and you can increase the recoil steadiness if you want to, or aim walking speed is really personal preference. You have to remember that this does reduce recoil, so fixing the recoil a little bit could be worth it, but you're sacrificing the mobility. So in my opinion, I think you just leave that part alone. Move on to the ammunition, which is hollow point. Remember, this has the concussion effects, and I'm imagining that you guys are good at drop shotting, so if you're good at drop shotting, you want to have this on there so their enemy will be basically stunned. Increase the bullet velocity until that spot on the range increases, so around the 5 range, and the damage range increase it to around the .48 mark. 50 will be completely fine, but I think this is the sweet spot. Put on a 45 round drum just because you don't want to have the base amount of bullets, and you don't want to have 12 just because that's not gonna be any good. 45 is perfect. Put on the SK3 CHEETAH for sprint speed, crouch movement speed, aim walking speed, and aim down sight speed. Increase the aim walking speed by negative 1.15 inches and the aim down sight speed to around negative 2.32 ounces. And last but not least, as long as you guys can handle the recoil of this current weapon, put on the VLK Laser 7 MW for the best aim down sight speed. Now keep in mind that you are going to have a laser with this attachment, so don't just ADS willy-nilly expecting the enemy not to see it. Be prepared. So I increased the tuning of the aim down sight speed by negative 26.52. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if it is perfect, let me know in the comment section down below, and that'll be insane to see. Also, for the sprint to fire speed, set the sprint to fire speed to negative 0.22 ounces. This is the end product, and in my opinion, short range is absolutely optimal. Medium range is where it gets a little more complicated with the recoil, and long range, I would kind of try to avoid it like the plague. So try to keep your gunfight short range, and you do a fantastic job. The last weapon I want to show you guys is the MP7, aka the Vel 46. This thing is so amazing, and I had to give you guys a class just because, in my opinion, it's one of the most slept on weapons in the game right now. So we're starting out with the Schlager L203 barrel for damage range, hipfire accuracy, and bullet velocity. What you're going to do is you're increase the damage range just slightly to around 0.26 inches, and the recoil steadiness you're going to increase to around 0.36. Now you can continue to increase it, but it doesn't really do that much beyond that point. It actually does have a little bit of a benefit, but if you don't want to have any cons, I would suggest stopping to around the 30s, but if you want to keep it to 0.50 to max out everything, feel free. Next, we're putting on hollow point, and we're increasing the tuning for the bullet velocity by around 5. Once again, the damage range, you're going to increase it to around 0.34 G. Put on a 50 round mag unless you think you can handle the base 40. Don't put on 60. I don't think it's necessary unless you're whiffing all of your shots. 50 is the perfect amount of bullets if you don't think that you can handle a gunfight with just 40. VLK Laser 7 MW, once again, because the aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed is just top of its class. Set the tuning to the aim down sight speed to negative 27.54 feet, or as close as possible, and sprint to fire speed to around, 0.29 ounces, or as close as you can possibly get. Last but not least, put on the demo RTX stock for crouch movement speed, sprint speed, aim down sight speed. And this is the only difference to this class. I want you guys to actually prioritize the aiming idle stability and max that to around 1.49 inches. Set the aim down sight speed to around, it looks like the sweet spot is the 1.20 area on the negative side. Make sure you guys have that. And testing this weapon out, this thing is just absolutely broken close range. Medium range does a good job. As you guys see, it has very little recoil, but I would avoid long range gunfights. So stick to close range and you guys will absolutely go crazy.